to Detroit. And honestly, this team, you know how I was like happy, I was excited about the Royals. I don't feel that about the Tigers. I feel like this team is lacking direction right now because it really feels like they were trying to exit a rebuild and they're going to have to go right back into another one. Do you guys get that same feeling?
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you have a bad GM, and now thankfully he is gone. So, I mean, you got to hope some direction starts to come in here. But after last season, their acquisitions last year were underwhelming. They played underwhelming as well. I don't know. I don't know how. Yeah, this is just a team with no direction.
I mean,
So
I don't fully disagree with your point, but I feel like it's because they had what's they had a pretty good 2021, so I felt like they thought they could take that next step. They went out and they took the gamble, and they didn't take the next step because Javi Baez literally has zero eye at the plate. Um, but it, I definitely I don't dislike the Tigers, but I'm not in love with the Tigers, if that makes sense.
yeah, and so for reference, last year they went 66 and 96. The reason, as Nev's pointed out, is for the last couple months, or I think from the All-Star game on in 2021, they played 500 ball. I think that sounds about right. And so we were like
Big.
kind of high on the Tigers. Like maybe there's an outside chance that they could go and compete because they had the number one pick coming up, Spencer Torkelson, and he was horrible. Eduardo Rodriguez missed the middle months of the season for family matters. Tom reminded me Austin Meadows also had to miss the last parts of the season for mental health issues. Casey Mize threw 10 innings last year. That was, remember, their number one pick in 2018. He's going to be hurt for most of this year, too. Like, that's not good. Their most innings on the team was 117 and two-thirds innings. That was Tarek Skubal, who is supposed to be one of the key pieces of this rebuild. This isn't this is an absolute floor. They had one batter, one, have an OPS plus over 100, and it was a backup catcher.
I mean, it's the consequences of your own actions, man. You go out and rebuild a team that's not ready to compete. You get a hot streak for about a month at the end of the 2021 season, and you consider that the end of the rebuild, and then you commit to, making a push. And when it's not ready, it's gonna blow up in your face like it did right here. I mean, this is the result of their actions here. I mean, I don't know. I
I
I
mean,
think now that the GM is out of the way, I think there's less to worry about. I think there's, you know, new management might be the solution here.
we talk about teams that like they just like wait too long and like aren't aggressive. I mean, he was aggressive. He went out and he tried to make something. It just wasn't. I just don't think the timing was perfect. And I definitely don't think Javi Baez was going to be the answer to your prayers, in Detroit. But this offseason, they lose out on Andrew Chafin, Tucker Barnhart, and Daniel Norris. Traded Joe Jimenez to the Braves and traded Gregory Soto and Cody Clemens to Philadelphia. In exchange for both of those trades, they got Justin Henry Malloy and Jake Higginbottom. And then they get Matt Vierling, Nick Maton, and Donnie Sands from Philadelphia. Um, Along with those trades, they get Tyler Nevin from Baltimore, Michael Lorenzen, signed him to a 1-year deal, signed Matt Boyd to a 1-year deal, and signed Trevor Rosenthal to a 1-year deal. I I don't dislike the offseason. I mean, I'm not gonna say I love the offseason, but I don't dislike the offseason. They went out and they made some deals. They signed some veteran pieces. I mean, what did you want from their offseason?
I don't
Um,
know. It's a transition of front office, right? Like they're also like completely redoing their front office. They fired all the scouts, they fired all the coaches. They're redoing it as well as the Royals. It just doesn't feel like this team is the same type of rebuild as the Royals because the guys that were supposed to be the key pieces of it are going to be entering free agency by the time this team's good.
it's just it's just
It's too
not gonna
late.
work. Yeah, this is gonna be a rebuild inception. They're gonna rebuild inside of a rebuild, and that's probably what's most likely gonna happen. The timetable's too long. No really good prospects, and nothing really stands out. There's not many guys you can flip. Not, I mean, you're probably going to have to sell the deadline.
The
Um,
answer to your question, Stebbs, of what did I want to see from them, I wanted to see them just promote the young guys, if that almost makes sense. Clear the stage of Javi Baez. No one's gonna take him. No one's gonna take that contract, but like maybe try and shed that. Trade Austin Meadows, maybe. Jonathan Scope was the best defender in baseball last year. There's value right there. Like maybe just clear the stage for some guys to get at bats.
It's just this is not a team that's going to compete for anything. I mean, stack this team against the Mets, they're going to get killed. I mean, you couldn't have thought that this was going to work. This isn't even like a super hot Cinderella run. This is not a team that will win anything. I mean, the offseason status was decent. I mean, you got a bunch of 1-year deals, and you obviously got rid of Gregory Soto and Cody Clemens. So
I mean, yeah, and that trade you get back Matt Vierling, Nick Maton, and Thick Neck Donnie Sands. I mean, Matt Vierling and Nick Maton are going to be pretty good. I'm excited to watch both of them play in Detroit. And Donnie Sands, I think, is a year or two out. Am I mistaken by that? I might
No,
be.
you're right. You're right.
But I mean, and Henry Malloy is supposed to be up this year. Like they have pieces. I'm not gonna say the Tigers are gonna be they're gonna win the Central. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying they have pieces, and I'm not entirely upset with their offseason.
I mean, so you want to talk about their rotation, because this rotation is
I'll head over it. So they got Eduardo Rodriguez, Matthew Boyd, Michael Lorenzen, Matt Manning, and Spencer Turnbull. Obviously, Casey Mize is out he had Tommy John and a back surgery.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Tariq Skubal is also out. What is his timetable? Do you know his timetable?
First or second month of the
So-
season.
I mean, assuming Skubal comes back and is somewhat healthy, and we're probably not going to see Mize this season. That's unfortunate, but it's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's not amazing. It's not good, but it's not terrible.
I mean, you got Matt Manning and a couple other guys in this rotation that are like, you got these are all just 1-year deals, and there's no guys that stand out other than Casey Mize and Tariq Skubal, and I'm just not sold. The Eduardo Rodriguez signing was not that good, a little underwhelming. I just don't see this panning out very well. This is a bottom 5 rotation in baseball. I think. Brad, what do you think about that?
I agree. I like Matt Boyd a little bit more than he's given credit for. Eduardo Rodriguez, I feel like, was overpaid. Michael Lorenzen's not that good. I'm a little bit higher on Spencer Turnbull. He showed really good signs of life in his small sample in 2021 before he got hurt. But I could buy a little bit of Spencer Turnbull bread, and outside of that, there's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Turnbull, like, did he throw the no-hitter in 2021 or 2020?
2021.
I mean, that's probably the main reason why people know his name. So I don't know if he's like,
No, his stuff backs it up.
yeah,
Like his 2021 data backs it up. Matt Manning's a prospect. He made a step in the right direction last year. He just has, one of the lowest strikeout rates in the league. It's just it doesn't look good with him, is the thing.
I mean, Matthew Boyd was a failed prospect, right, of the Tigers system before he got moved, and then he came back. And I'm not really sold on him. I'm pretty sure I think he had one good outing in spring training. I can check really quick. Okay, so spring training, 13 innings pitched, 21 strikeouts, but does give up significant runs. I don't know about this guy. He did pitch pretty well last season in a very small sample size. I'm just not sold. He didn't pitch well at the Tigers, obviously, last season, and the season before, I believe he was actually somewhat, usable. But right now, the sample size is just too small for him.
I agree.
But he's going to be getting innings, so.
I mean, I think we've touched on everything we want to touch on for the starting rotation. I mean, Matt Manning is he's gonna be fun to watch. Spencer Turnbull's gonna be fun to watch, and I mean, we wish the best for Casey Mize. We want him to be out on the field. He's like one of the most important pieces for this Tigers starting rotation, for the Tigers organization as a whole. And Tree Skubal is gonna be out for 2 months. Hopefully he can come back and perform at a high enough level. But let's head over to their bullpen. Got Alex Lang, Jason Foley, Jose, what, Brad?
It's Alex Lange.
Langy, really? Really?
Yes.
If I said Langy, it would have been Lang. So,
No, it's
okay.
actually Alex Lange.
Okay. Jose Cisnero, Will Vest, Tyler Alexander, Garrett Hill, Chasen Shreve, and Mason Englert. I don't like the bullpen.
Is there any worse bullpens in baseball?
I don't think there is.
No,
Like
yeah,
even
Alex Lange, like I'm not like, trying to like pick on you. It's like he's actually decent. Alex Lange is actually decent.
Okay.
Outside of him, maybe Jose Cisneros decent. Maybe.
I don't think there's. I mean, what's the Athletics bullpen? That would be
That's the competition. That's
it-
not
it's-
territory you want to be in.
yeah. So it's a bottom two bullpen in baseball, and that's you do not want to be in the same breath as the Oakland Athletics for anything.
Especially for a team that's supposed to, be in quotations competing now. You don't want to be considered a
But I
team
don't
that's
think they're
completely
supposed to
rebuilding.
be competing, right?
I mean, if you'd
I
asked them
don't-
last year, they would have been like, "Yeah, we're competing. We're in it."
At the beginning of last season, I think they would have said that we're gonna try to compete. Not that they were a competing team or that they are a competing team, but that they were gonna try and compete. They were gonna go out there and put their best foot forward. I think you guys are maybe not Brad as much, but I think Tom, I think you're acting like this team went out, or like this organization went out there like we're gonna win the Central. I don't think they did. They went out there saying we're gonna try and compete, and hey, if we can get hot at the right time and win the Central, hey, anything's possible. Again, it is the mid. They're the AL mid.
I
All the
think
teams
the
are not
Athletics
incredible.
bullpen might be better.
So
yeah,
we're talking
I
about
was. I'm on the
a-
hate train. Yeah.
we're talking about a below middle of the pack starting rotation and the worst bullpen in baseball. That's not good. And we haven't even gotten to the lineup yet.
Which isn't okay. The lineup. Riley Green in center field.
Nice.
Quality.
Good start.
Like I like him. Nick Maton, third base. Again, like
Awesome.
him, potential. Javi Baez, shortstop. I don't know what he is. Austin Meadows, right? What's that, Sebs?
He's looked really good in the World Baseball Classic so far. He has looked very, very good. Is that going to say he's going to be very, very good for the Tigers? No, but
I think he's someone who depends on the environment around him. When the
fair.
environment around him is like involved, hype, caring, he elevates his play.
don't think that's a feeling he's going to get in Detroit.
That's my point. Austin Meadows hitting fourth and right field. Jonathan Scope hitting fifth at second base. Kerry Carpenter, DH, hitting sixth. Spencer Torkelson at first base. Akil Baddoo in left field, and Jake Rogers catching. Their bench is Eric Haase. He was their only player with an OPS plus of 150 or of 100 or better. Kerry Carpenter did, but he barely had over 100 at bats. But I'm not going to count that. Miguel Cabrera is a first baseman. Zach Short's a middle infielder and outfielder, and Matt Fielding's an outfielder. I like to see Haase and Vierling actually be in the starting lineup. Again, it's a conversation that we had with the Royals. There shouldn't be any players on this team, unless they're rookies, that block prospects from playing.
I mean,
Yeah.
for Haase, he could go over Jake Rogers.
Yeah.
And then Vierling, Austin Meadows?
You don't start Vierling over Meadows. Like Meadows is, I'm saying, like probably
Meadows
should
has
have dealt.
potential.
Yeah, but who are you going to start Vierling over?
Harry Carpenter.
Akil Baddoo?
Harry
Yeah.
Carpenter. Because there's also like Nick Maton might not be that good. Spencer Torkelson might be a bust. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one more season of this, and he's considered a bust for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the depth not selling me. There's not who on this team can hit more than 30 home runs in a season? Spencer
We don't know
Torkelson.
what Riley Green is yet.
I think
Javi
Riley Green can.
Javi Baez could hit 30 home runs. It's just, will he hit the ball?
Yeah.
Austin Meadows. Only look at like Austin Meadows' best season or
He
his
was very
100 season.
good.
That was with the Rays. His
Yeah.
best season was the Rays.
2019.
Austin Thank you, Brad. Good job. You're good at typing. Austin Meadows. Okay. His best season with the Rays was 2019, where he played 138 games and he hit 33 bombs. So there's another guy. Last in 2021, he hit 27 bombs. He's decent. He could put up some WAR and hit some bombs. But I feel like the issue with this team is saying these guys are going to do this is we talked about the White Sox, where we're going to talk about the White Sox just being, when we get to that projection, just being a disappointing bad environment, right? I feel like Detroit had that same environment, but it was just more depressing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely hard to play out there. I mean, they are changing the dimensions of the field, correct? Slightly.
Yeah, they're bringing it in.
So that might help, especially considering that Spencer Torkelson is like the most unlucky batter of all time. I mean, you see him in spring training. The Victor Robles catch was the most unlucky thing. He hit that ball at like a perfect launch angle at like 115 miles an hour and it didn't get out. I think there's definitely some luck going into this. I think Spencer Torkelson will definitely have some positive regression, and Riley Green should continue to rake and also be good in the field. He'll be got to stay healthy though. Jonathan Scope has been more of a hitting second baseman his whole career. Now he's kind of flipped it backwards. Matt Vierling has to get a chance. There's too many percentiles that say otherwise that he should be starting.
I agree. And okay, the lineup's the best part of their team, but it's not good.
No, it's not sensational by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I'd say I can't even say like any of these, like we always say like, oh, like the top three is like really good. But, like your top three is Riley Green, Nick Maton, and Javi Baez. So like by like name, they're pretty good. But I mean that's about,
I think this will be a bottom 3 team in baseball next year. Bottom 4, sorry. Bottom 5, maybe.
Yeah, not agree with that.
Yeah.
I think I'm higher on them than you guys are, but
with that though, they have no prospects expected for this year. So what's up there is what you're looking for, guys. 2024, maybe. If maybe some guys in the minors do well this season and they're up. But Stev's predictions, you said you're a bit higher on them than we are.
I mean, I like them. I don't know. I think I'm betting on them just being just like the players that were terrible last year to turn it around. Like I think Javi Baez is gonna be something a little better. I think Riley Green's gonna perform at a high level. I think Spencer Torkelson's gonna play well. So for me, they have them going 70-92. I don't know if, I guess that probably might be closer to their ceiling. But I mean, that's where I think they're going to be at. MVP, I have Riley Green. I think he's going to show out this year. I think he's going to be very, very good. Cy Young has Spencer Turnbull. I think he's going to come out, pitch very well. Not anything crazy, but I mean, he doesn't really have that much competition. Breakout, Spencer Torkelson. I think the unluckiness that Tom had mentioned will kind of fade out, and I think he's going to get hopefully a little luckier. And most important is, for me at least, Javi Baez. You paid him a crap ton of money. He needs to perform at a high level.
Also, the thing is, he doesn't opt out after this year. Maybe
he will be opting out probably.
Oh, if he's, I wouldn't opt out right now.
Terribly, I would not opt out.
Yeah, if he plays how he did last year, I would not opt out.
Tom?
Yeah. Why you guys looking at me? I want to.
It's your turn.
I always want to go last. It's
okay, you can go last.
Okay, Brad, go ahead.
I have them going 61 and 101. First of all, I had them going 64 and 98. But then I saw their team, and they're really bad, and they also get a central tax. Like, think about it. This team's going to have to go play the entirety of the American League East, more than they normally would. They're going to have to go play the entirety of the AL West and the Athletics. They're going to have to play the NL West and the Rockies. They're going to play the NL East and the Nationals. Like, they're not better. The only teams that they're going to compete with are the Athletics, Nationals, and maybe the Colorado Rockies in those 4 divisions. Like, he can't compete with those teams, or can't compete with any other team and consider yourself above 65 wins. For that though, I had their MVP as Riley Green. Their Cy Young is Spencer Turnbull. Their breakout being Matt Vierling, and their most important being Spencer Torkelson. Tom mentioned it. It's this year or bust. And after Tom goes, I just like to make a point about this too.
I had their record being 62 and 100. Like, I think I think that's like a 50th percentile team too. Like this team is going to be bad. You can't move without pitching. I mean, this might be a hot take, but even if you give them a good lineup, like a good hitting lineup, this pitching staff is not going to do anything. I mean, they're still going to, like, even if you gave them better hitters, they'd still be awful. But you have bad pitching and hitters that aren't really threatening at all. And you make the Tigers. This is a team that's probably going to be pretty bad. For the MVP, I had Riley Green. I really think he's going to build off of this season. He has really good oppo power. It's crazy to see. He gets the ball to all parts of the park. Most important player, I have Spencer Torkelson. Obviously needs to make a comeback this season. And I think he will. That's why I also have him as my breakout. As for the Cy Young, I guess I was looking around. I mean, I genuinely struggled for this one. I'm put like 5 guys down. There's no one in this bullpen that can win the Cy Young. So I'm going to give it to, God, this is painful. Yeah, I'm going to go with Brad's one, Spencer Turnbull. That's the only one I can really give it to. No one else is really standing out to me. Maybe a comeback season from Matthew Boyd, but I just don't see that being possible. Brad, what was your point here?
He talked about how this team was like, you know what, we're going to put out a roster that maybe can compete for a wild card spot in 2022. The amount of damage they did to their organization in doing that is extreme. You put one of your biggest payrolls into Javier Baez, who's a questionable bat. You put a lot of money into Eduardo Rodriguez, and went with the philosophy that we can compete with Jonathan Scope, Jaimer Candelario, Akil Baddoo, Victor Reyes. That was a management decision that was malinformed, and that set this team back. And this team, the 2023 Tigers, have to pay the consequences for it.
I completely agree. I mean, Sebs, I don't know how you have him winning over 7. Wait, did you say 70 games?
I said 70.
What sold you, Steve?
That's their ceiling. And all honesty,
I can agree with that.
for me,
but
I think Riley Green's gonna have a Tigers MVP season. I think Spencer Torkelson's going to have that breakout season. I think Javi Baez is probably not going to be Cubs Javi Baez for him, but be somewhere in between Tigers Javi Baez and Cubs Javi Baez. Somewhere in between those two. And that feels like a recipe for success. The bullpen and the pitching, yes, are definitely questionable. And I probably should have knocked a couple wins from that, but I don't know. I think 70 is probably their ceiling. I guess I have them hitting that ceiling. But I don't know. I think and I also like their off season. So I think they got better, and they had 67 wins last year. 66 wins last year. So I think, I don't know. Maybe I'll lower it to 68, 90, but I think 70 wins is about where their ceiling is.
that's that math. That's that math. No,
What?
but I 68 and 90 does not add up to 162. I hate to break it to you. But
68, 90.
I just so you mentioned all these offensive breakouts. Look at this bullpen and rotation and tell me they're not going to give up 10 runs a game. Like
I'm not disagreeing with that,
if
but
you have to have a
I'm
top 10 offense to win with this rotation.
that's valid, and I agree. But I don't know. I can see the way. It's not a clear path, and it's definitely going to be rocky, but I could definitely see the way. That
Actually, it'll be
could
Tigers.
Wait, is that a
that
Rockies reference?
that they could get 70 wins, but that's definitely their ceiling, I would say. Do you guys agree with that?
I gave you one bonus point. 71 and 91's their ceiling.
Yeah.
And their floor is like 55 wins.
That's fair.
Yeah, I would say in terms of like teams with big question marks, it's this and the Rockies, right? For like the worst run organizations.
I would put the Athletics over this organization. Because again, I will give this team a little bit of leeway if they have a new front office.
Yeah.
So Athletics, though, 29th.
Yeah, I think that's about right. It's going to be a couple of years before we see any signs of life from this team. And if they don't really commit to selling this season, then that question mark grows even larger.
Into an uppercase question mark. Thank you all for
Yes.
listening to the 4A Baseball Podcast. This is going to be one of our final projections. We've only got 4 more coming out after this episode. You're also going to get a World Baseball Classic preview later this week with our predictions for MVPs, World Series, everything coming out next week. We are super excited for that one. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, follow button. All social medias are in the description below. We will see you all next time on the 4A Baseball Podcast. Peace.